Hello everyone and welcome back to a not Destiny video. Today we're doing something very different. That's right, we're doing a Pokemon Violet review. I said Violet because specifically that's the one I played. So yeah, but the reason I wanted to do this is just do something different, and you're probably wondering, well, that game came out a long time ago. Why are we reviewing it now? Well, I only finished it recently, so I know I'm slacking a bit in that department, but Destiny does take up a lot of my time, and as I'm sure a lot of people are doing right now, you're taking a step away from Destiny, like that abusive, emotionally abusive ex that you always go back to, but you really shouldn't, and that's what Destiny is for a lot of us. But Pokemon Violet is a nice break away from that. I enjoyed playing it, and I look forward to going back and doing some of the endgame content as well as the DLC that's going to come out that might shed some light on the events of another Pokemon game. But today we're here to focus on Pokemon Violet. So let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the story. We're going to get into three main categories here: the story, the music, and the gameplay. And all of these things are important to any game, unless, you're a PvP game, like Overwatch or Apex Legends. But even then, those games have story still. They still have gameplay and music to overlay into the game and make everything better. And boy, does Pokemon do a really good job of that. So starting with the story, there are three main characters that you interact with throughout your journeys through the region of Paldea, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. The first one, in my personal favorite, is Arven. Now, he is a very interesting character. He approaches you early in the game, and there's so much backstory to Arven that I want to leave it for anyone who hasn't played the game. But man, I really enjoyed his arc. Essentially, he's just a really nice character. He's endearing, and towards the end of the story, you'll see why. But he makes you feel a ton of empathy. And I'm not gonna say who's dead. It might not be obvious, but someone dies in this game, and I have to think it's the first time in a while that death has been inside a Pokemon game. And, it's not like we see the person die, right? But usually throughout these stories, they're a lot more upbeat. Nothing bad really happens. It's kind of like a fairy tale, dream, whatever. And having some character's death be a part of the story is refreshing, because it's sad and tragic and all of those things wrapped together. And let's just say it helps to build Arven's character very nicely. Am I saying that Arven benefits from having someone die in his life? Maybe. I also may have just spoiled that, so I'm kind of sorry, but at this point, if you haven't played it, who am I kidding? I'm going to say is that someone dies. I apologize if you haven't played this game and you're watching this right now. Although I'm not going to say who dies, because, but it will become obvious the more you play the game and as you beat it. So, again, he also has an adorable dog, Arven. He has a Mabostiff, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Don't knock my head off for that, please. But he has a great arc, and it's awesome to see. Now, Nimona, who is the gym arc person, I also should mention there are three different arcs here. So Arven, you're essentially going around Paldea trying to find these Titans, which are essentially just big Pokemon. If you played Legends of Arceus, there were these Pokemon that were hit by the portals in the sky, and it essentially made them really big. That's essentially what these Titans are, except there's some mystical herb throughout Paldea that allows them to be just giant Pokemon. Kind of like Dynamaxed from the Galar region. And Arven asks you to go around Paldea and fight these titans to find out where they've got these herbs at. Essentially, you're just collecting these herbs to give to his dog, or sorry, his Pokemon Mastiff. I keep saying dog because it's really like you have the sad boy and his dog, but it's a Pokemon. So you go around collecting these herbs, and you're essentially trying to heal Mastiff, who's just really, really sad. And you get the feel as to why he's sad. Eventually you collect all the herbs, and that's the end of that story. That is essentially concluded with Mastiff being healed. You can pretty easily collect that from the story. Nothing too spoilerific there. But Nemona is, again, the gym arc. And we'll get to the separate arcs of the game later, because that's actually a huge part of the gameplay, right? Nemona, to me, though, is kind of bland as a character. A very atypical rival, and it's kind of why the gym arcs suck, if we're being honest. Like, they're bad, is because these characters are always the same. They're not very different from one another. And, you know, I look at Hop. Hop is such a sad example because he's so upbeat and optimistic. And through the story and the gameplay and Sword and Shield, you're just clapping him every turn. And he's like, I'll get you next time. And we just know, poor Hop, he's not going to get us. Now, I will say Nemona is more challenging from a gameplay perspective. And the game does have some idea of how to make matchups a little bit more difficult in this game. However, you know, you still figure it out in the end. And, you know, Pokemon games are never supposed to be too difficult unless you're playing like Black 2 or White 2. But I mean, yeah, you know, as a character, again, definitely not my favorite. Arven, again, takes the cake for me. And then we have Penny, who I think is underrated as a character. She has her Team Star arc, which, again, there's quite some spoilers in there. I had some friends that had no idea. I mean, it's kind of obvious when you start playing the game what's going on with Penny. Maybe not completely obvious, but, you know, all I'm going to say is that she has a unique power to unite others, and she has a killer theme because she's from the Galar region. You know, it just goes, I can't. I'm sorry, that was a bad, ignore what just happened there. But she's from the Galar region, and as we know, Galar region people just have really good themes. Marnie, Hop has a really good theme. Bade has a really good theme. I mean, and not to mention the gym leaders. I mean, the gym leader theme is the best gym leader theme to ever exist, in my opinion. But yeah, all around, I think all three of these characters are good. I think Arven is the best, at least in my opinion. Nemona is second, but in terms of like actual challenge, she's difficult. And Penny's close second to Arven because she has a very cool arc that, again, I'm not going to try to spoil because I know a lot of people who enjoyed that. So, moving forward to music, which you should be hearing some beautiful Pokemon music in the background right now if Future Me is doing his job. Toby Fox, all I'm going to say is I can kiss you. Deltarune chapters 3 and beyond are in great hands. The creator of the first two, of course, with some help from other people. Man, if you have never played a Pokemon game and you're coming into them now with Toby Fox composing some of these tracks, you are so blessed. I mean, before Sword and Shield, which I think the first theme Toby did, or worked on at least, was the Battle Tower theme in Sword and Shield. Great theme. Fantastic theme. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this theme. And then I'm like, who did this? Who worked on this? Toby Fox. And if you've watched any of my Destiny videos, you know that I always have Toby Fox playing in the background because that music is just so good. I love listening to it while I edit, and I think it's a good backdrop for people listening to videos and whatnot, so that if you have ADHD like me, you're not getting too distracted or lack thereof, right? Anyways, I mean, the music helps to elevate each moment in this game when you're fighting the final battle. I love the Terra Raid theme. It's just so good. If I can't wait for the next Pokemon game. That's all I'm going to say. Because the music is good and it helps to make the story better. It helps to make the gameplay more exciting. Even though most of the time, Pokemon battles are just you standing and looking at someone like, oh, hi, I'm going to tell my Pokemon to do something. And it's going to hurt your Pokemon and vice versa. Like, woo. It's not like in the animes where you have these battle sequences where your Pokemon's like picking up swords and throwing them at you. Like it's nothing like the anime at all. Which, by the way, the anime, it's really cool. They have some of the music from the games, especially if you watch like the Cynthia battles. Like, it's literally remixes of the Pokemon game music. It's so good, so good. So yeah, there's that. If you're looking for good music, Pokemon is just, I mean, even before Toby Fox, you know, I say how he's helped this game, and it's true, but overall, Pokemon has great video game music, from battle themes to town themes to, you know, it goes on and on and on. Gameplay, next. I love the idea of riding on Pokemon, because it's kind of like, you know, Pokemon trainer is kind of like a Jedi, right? If you played Jedi Survivor, you ride on animals a lot more in this second game than you did in the first. You didn't ride on Pokemon, or I'm sorry, animals at all in Fallen Order. And Pokemon has kind of adopted that now. I mean, you've always flew on your Pokemon to go from destination to destinations. We have flying taxis now, which is, I hope the Pokemon are getting fed, paid. Maybe they have a union. I don't know. That was a joke. I'm sorry. They get fed. I'm sure they're well taken care of. So, you know, riding on Pokemon isn't something completely new. You know, you would swim in the top-down games and ride your Pokemon. But in these newer versions of the games, it's a much more intimate way of kind of interacting with your Pokemon. And, you know, it makes sense, is what I'm trying to say, is that like a Pokemon trainer has a close connection with their Pokemon, and, you know, it's kind of like a horse in some senses. You know, not every Pokemon has the capability to be ridden on, but again, that connection is more of like with Arven and his Mabostiff, right? Or Massbostiff. I don't know if I'm butchering that Pokemon name at all, but yeah, you know, it's more of a best friend as opposed to a pet, right? I think that's what maybe some people think of Pokemon as, is pet, even though the definition is like, what, literally pocket monsters, whatever. But it's just a great touch. It's something they took from Legends of Arceus and kind of added with Miraidon, and I don't know what the other one is called, but they're both just, you know, really cool Pokemon to ride on. They're just like bicycles that can fly and climb, like you could, of course, in Legends of Arceus. And, you know, we go back to gameplay. I think splitting up, you know, you having the three characters, Arven with the Titan arc, Penny with the Team Star arc, and of course Nimona with the Gym arc / you know, Pokemon League champion arc, whatever you want to call it. It's a great way to break up the monotony that exists or has existed in previous iterations of Pokemon games, right? And the most recent one is definitely Sword and Shield, where the main goal is always to become the champion of your region, and it gets boring. Of course, in Violet, you kind of have to do all three to get the full story and to complete the story. But at least, you know, you can kind of focus on the one you enjoy most. Me, I just did all three as I went, kind of as they were convenient for me to do. And, you know, if I needed to level up to beat a gym, I would go do some Titan stuff. If I needed to level up before taking on a Team Starbase, I would go do a gym. This goes on. It gives you variety, and again, it just breaks up that monotony that is so plagued Pokemon games for years. So, very exciting to see that the developers finally were like, yeah, we're gonna shake it up. You know, we're not gonna do the same thing over and over again. Thank you for that. And just a couple more things to touch on. If you are upset at this game because of graphics, you confuse me. You shouldn't be playing Pokemon for graphics. Everything I've been talking about, the story, the music, and the gameplay, should be why you're playing it in the first place. Now, I get it, if you want to go play a visually stunning game, that's great. This is not it. I don't know why Pokemon got so many bad reviews for graphics. I could understand if maybe they promoted it to have really good graphics and it came out and it was like horrible. And I know there were a lot of bugs with this game specifically, which bugs happen. I think as long as you can get an enjoyable experience, which I certainly did out of the game, doesn't matter if there are bugs, they always get patched out, worked out, whatever. Of course, I don't know how bad it was. Maybe you had a bad experience yourself. I understand. Hopefully you were able to play the game at some point without any hindrance, and if you haven't, I hope you get that chance because, again, it's a really nice game. So I don't think Pokemon will ever make graphics its number one priority. I mean, they should be something that they consider, but I don't think they'll ever make it a top priority when it comes to making games like this. And of course, last but not least here, Ed Sheeran in the end credits. Didn't see that coming. Very pleasant surprise. So overall, I would give Pokemon Violet an 8.7 out of 5. The story is so good. The music is out of the park. Gameplay, there are some things I would like to change. I would like to see maybe the champion arc maybe completely reworked, but some people like that. You know, maybe we'll see different types of arcs in the future games. We'll just have to wait and see. But overall, I give it an 8.7 out of 10. Let me know what you think about that rating, what you would possibly rate it, respectfully. Of course, I know everyone has their opinions. Like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're a member of Team Star. I mean, who said that? It wasn't me. They're everywhere. They're bullying me. No, they're not bullying me. I'm bullying them. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.